long ago, in a small village in Gyeongsang province, during the Joseon dynasty, there lived a scholar named Kim. Though he was poor, his passion for learning burned brighter than anyone else's. Kim's house was the smallest and most dilapidated thatched cottage in the village. The roof was worn and patched in many places, and the walls were cracked and weathered from years of neglect. But inside that small house, every night a lamp burned until dawn broke. Kim would open his worn books and read through the entire night, never resting in his pursuit of knowledge. "My dear husband, please rest early tonight. What will you do if you ruin your health by continuing like this every single night?" Lady Jong always worried deeply about her husband. She felt such pity for him, studying day and night when they barely had enough food to eat and keep themselves alive. "I'm fine, my dear wife. If I just pass this civil examination, we can finally live comfortably together. Please bear with me in these hardships just a little longer." Kim held his wife's hand tightly in his own. His hands were rough from work and stained with ink from endless writing, but their warmth was comforting and genuine, full of love. Time passed relentlessly like this. Spring departed and summer arrived. Autumn passed and winter came again. Through all seasons, Kim studied without rest, never stopping his tireless pursuit of knowledge. Finally, the announcement for the civil service examination was posted in the village square. The opportunity Kim had been waiting for all these years had finally arrived. "My dear, the examination date has been set at last. The test will be held in Hanyang on the 15th day of next month." Kim's face was overflowing with pure joy and anticipation, but Lady Jong's heart was deeply conflicted. Along with happiness came a powerful wave of anxiety and unease about the future. Hanyang is such a long and dangerous journey away, and you'll be traveling all alone through mountains and valleys. "I'm so worried about you, my husband." "Don't worry, my dear. I will return safely, I promise you. And I absolutely promise I will pass the examination and come back successful and honored." That night, Lady Jong prepared for her husband's long journey with careful attention. They had so little that there wasn't much to pack or prepare. A few worn and patched clothes, some dried vegetables for sustenance, and a pitifully small amount of travel money. That was absolutely everything they had to give. "I'm so deeply sorry I can only prepare this much for you, my dear husband. I wish I could give you more. This is more than enough, more than I could ask for. With this bundle prepared with your devotion and care, I can travel 1,000 li without worry or fear." Finally, the day of departure arrived too soon. In the early dawn, even before the sun rose over the mountains, Kim prepared to set out on his long journey. Lady Jong carefully adjusted her husband's clothing, with devoted attention to every detail. Her hands kept trembling uncontrollably, despite her efforts to steady them. "It will take at least 10 days to reach Hanyang on foot. Please be careful on the dangerous road, and don't get sick or injured. Be wary of strangers too. I will definitely return, I give you my word. Please trust me and believe in me, my dear wife. In 1 month I will be back home." Kim embraced his wife tightly in his arms. Lady Jong fought back her tears while held in her husband's embrace, trying to be strong for him. She feared this might be the last time. "I must go now. The time has come. I need to set out on the road before the sun rises fully. My dear, please stay healthy and safe." Kim left the house and walked away down the path. After taking just a few steps, he turned back to look one more time. Lady Jong stood at the gate, waving her hand in farewell. Kim waved back to her with forced cheerfulness. Then he turned forward again and began walking resolutely. 1 step, then another step, moving forward. He tried hard not to look back again. Lady Jong remained standing in that exact spot until her husband's figure completely disappeared from view. watching until the very end. His form faded into the morning mist until gone, and she murmured to herself softly, voice breaking, "Please return safely. Please come back to me safely and whole, my dear husband." 1 month passed slowly by. It was the time when the civil examination should have ended. Lady Jong went out to the road every single day to wait for her husband's return. But her husband did not return when expected. The list of successful examinees was posted in the village square. But Kim's name was not among them either. Even if he failed the examination, he would have sent a letter at least. Why is there no word at all from him? What could have possibly happened to him? 2 months passed. 3 months passed. Still, there was no news whatsoever. Not even the smallest word from him. The village people began to whisper and click their tongues in pity. Lady Jong kept a lamp lit every night without fail, waiting faithfully for her husband. She hoped he might return late at night and need the light to find his way home safely. But only the sound of wind knocked at her door, nothing more. Her husband did not return, night after night of disappointment. The house felt increasingly empty and hollow. Something must be terribly wrong. Something bad must have happened to my husband on his journey. I cannot simply wait like this any longer doing nothing. Finally, Lady Jong made her decision with firm resolve. She could not simply wait passively like this any longer. She resolved to go out herself and search for her husband. No matter what dangers lay ahead, Lady Jong took out men's clothing from the chest. It was far too dangerous for a woman to travel long distances alone in those times when bandits roamed the roads. She cut and tied up her long hair in a man's style. Looking in the mirror, a stranger stared back at her with unfamiliar features. But if this transformation was for her husband's sake, she could bear any sacrifice. At dawn, Lady Jong disguised completely as a man left her house quietly. She had to depart before the village people woke and might recognize her or question her journey. The road to Hanyang was long and treacherous. She had to cross steep mountains and traverse deep valleys, a difficult journey for anyone. But Lady Jong felt no fear, only determination. When she arrived at the first village after a day's travel, Lady Jong stopped at an inn. Though exhausted from walking, she had to ask about news of her husband's whereabouts before resting. "Innkeeper, have you by chance seen a scholar like this? About this tall, slender build, deeply learned in classical texts. He would have passed through here about a month ago on his way to Hanyang." Well now, many scholars pass through here regularly heading to Hanyang for examinations. How could I possibly remember which one was which among so many travelers? They all look similar in their scholars' robes. In the first village, she could learn nothing at all useful. Lady Jong was disappointed, but refused to give up, setting out on the road once more with renewed determination, despite the setback. The second village, the third village. Lady Jong stopped at every settlement along the way to inquire about her husband's whereabouts. But the answer was always the same disappointing refrain. "Haven't seen him. I don't remember. There are so many scholars passing through." The people's answers were always frustratingly similar, offering no help. But no one had seen Kim anywhere along the road. It was as if he had vanished into thin air, disappeared completely without a trace. Lady Jong's anxiety grew with each passing day. On the evening of the fourth day, the sun was setting behind the mountains. Lady Jong found herself walking deep into the mountains, far from any village. The distances between settlements had grown increasingly long. Must I spend the night deep in these mountains alone? If only there was somewhere safe to rest until morning. There must be wild beasts roaming these woods at night. The mountain depths grew darker by the moment. Strange sounds echoed between the trees. Was it the wind or something else lurking in the shadows? Then In the distance, through the trees, she saw a faint light flickering warmly. It seemed there was a dwelling where someone lived in these deep mountains, after all. Lady Zhong breathed a sigh of relief. Lady Zhong walked cautiously toward that light through the dark forest. As she drew closer, a small hermitage came into view, nestled among the trees. It appeared to be a Buddhist retreat. Wind chimes hung before the hermitage entrance, making clear melodic sounds as the evening breeze moved them gently. That sound calmed Lady Zhong's anxious heart somewhat with its peaceful music. "Hello there. Is anyone home? Might someone be present? I'm a lost traveler. May I stay the night here for shelter and safety?" After a long moment, the door slowly creaked open, and from within the warm interior, an elderly monk with a pure white beard appeared before her like a vision. The old monk's eyes were deep and penetrating like ancient wells. They were eyes that seemed to see through everything, to know all the secrets of the world and beyond. "Wandering the dangerous mountains at this late hour of night. Young traveler, what urgent matter brings you to this remote place? I sense you carry an unusual story with great weight." Lady Zhong hesitated for a moment, uncertain. But before this old monk's penetrating gaze, it seemed no deception could possibly succeed or remain hidden for long. "The truth is, I am a woman, master. I have set out on this dangerous journey to find my missing husband. It's too dangerous for a woman alone, so I disguised myself like this." The old monk was not surprised at all. As if he had known from the very beginning, he nodded his head calmly. "I suspected as much. Please, come inside where it's safe." Lady Zhong entered the hermitage gratefully. Inside, it was warm and welcoming, with the comforting smell of tea brewing filling the air. Candles burned softly, casting gentle light throughout. Lady Zhong poured out her entire story without reservation. How her husband left to take the civil examination, and then all news of him ceased. How she waited 3 long months, but when he didn't return, she set out to find him herself. "I stopped at every village to inquire, but no one had seen my husband anywhere. It's as if he vanished into thin air, disappeared completely without leaving any trace." The old monk listened quietly and intently to every word. His expression gradually became more and more grave and serious with each detail she revealed, as if he was realizing something ominous and dark. "When exactly did you say your husband departed on his journey? And which route was he planning to take to reach Hanyang?" "This is very important." 3 months ago, master. Precisely 3 months and 2 days ago, to be exact. And he would have taken this very road. The other roads are far too long, and he was eager to arrive. The old monk's face darkened even further with this information. He paused for a long moment and let out a deep, troubled sigh filled with concern. Then he looked out the window into the darkness beyond. Far in the distance, beyond the mountains in the darkness, something seemed to lurk with malevolent presence. An ominous energy that could not be described in words, could be felt in the air. "If that is so, then I must share troubling news with you. Please prepare your heart for what I must tell you." "What do you mean, master? What has happened to my husband? Please tell me the truth, I beg you." "I must know, no matter how terrible." The old monk slowly opened his mouth to speak the heavy truth. "Beyond these mountains, there stands a large tiled house, isolated in the wilderness. In that place, strange and disturbing things have been happening." "Strange things? What does that place have to do with my husband?" "Master, please speak plainly and clearly. Tell me everything you know." The old monk poured tea with ritualistic care and slowly began his story. His voice was low and heavy, with the weight of terrible knowledge, as if recounting an ancient legend filled with darkness. 3 months ago, exactly when your husband left, A young widow began living in that house. She claimed her husband had died recently, and that she lived there all alone in mourning, wearing white mourning clothes. But the strange thing is, the owner of the house changes every time someone sees her. Sometimes she appears as an old crone, other times as a young beautiful maiden, and still other times as a middle-aged matron. Lady Jong's heart sank like a stone dropped in deep water. An ominous premonition wrapped around her entire body like cold chains. Her fingertips turned ice cold with dread. But they all say exactly the same thing every time. They claim my husband has died and insist they live completely alone in that house. No matter who visits, it's always the same story. And then, scholars passing by that house began disappearing one by one, vanishing without a trace or any evidence. The village people began avoiding that road entirely, taking long detours around it. Especially scholars traveling to take the civil examination vanished on that very road without exception. Even when their desperate families came searching, they could find nothing at all. No belongings, no traces. It can't be. Surely my husband didn't also fall victim too. No, it can't be true. It's impossible. Lady Jong's voice trembled uncontrollably with rising panic and denial. The old monk nodded gravely with a pitying expression. There is a very strong possibility he is being held captive in that house. No, it's almost certain given the timing and circumstances. Are you saying my husband is still alive? Then I must go there immediately and rescue him myself right now. Lady Jong jumped to her feet with fierce determination, replacing her despair. Wait, stop! The old monk raised his hand to stop her urgently. You must not go there recklessly like that unprepared. That being is not human at all. Not human. What do you mean by that? Master, what kind of creature is it then? Please tell me everything. The old monk paused for a long, heavy moment. Then after oppressive silence, he opened his mouth to speak the terrible truth. That being is a rat demon. A rat that has become a supernatural creature of evil. A rat demon, you say? How can a rat possibly? How is such a thing even possible? Lady Jong's expression showed utter disbelief at this supernatural claim. Yes, indeed, but this is no ordinary rat. It is a rat that has become a demon through dark magic and centuries of accumulated evil. It has lived in these mountains for a very long time. The old monk began telling an ancient story passed down through generations. How the rat demon first came into existence in this world, its terrible origin story filled with darkness. Long ago, there was a scholar in this village who carelessly discarded his nail clippings without proper ritual. People said that when you cut your nails, you must burn them in fire or bury them in earth. But he dismissed such superstitions. He did not believe in such superstitions at all, saying, what harm could mere nail clippings do? He threw them away carelessly anywhere and everywhere without thought. One day, a rat living beneath the house discovered those discarded nail clippings, and then it ate them, consuming them entirely without knowing the terrible consequences. From that very moment, strange things began to happen. The rat gained the ability to mimic that scholar's voice perfectly, speaking with human words and inflection. At first, it was only the voice, but the rat began seeking out and consuming more nail clippings, night after night. Every night it would roam the village searching for them. With each nail clipping it consumed, the rat changed little by little. Gradually it began to resemble a human more and more, transforming in terrible ways. And finally, it gained the ability to transform into a complete human form. Depending on whose nail clippings it consumed, it could become that person perfectly, copying everything about them. Lady Jong felt chills run down her spine. Then that rat has been deceiving people all this time, pretending to be human. Indeed, at first it merely imitated people superficially. But as time passed, and it consumed more and grew in power, the rat became increasingly cunning and clever. It learned how to read human hearts and minds, and mastered the art of exploiting people's desires and weaknesses for its own purposes. And the most terrifying thing, the rat began feeding on human life force itself, draining people's vital energy to sustain its unnatural existence. Lady Zhong's face turned pale as understanding dawned. Then my husband is also. The possibility is very high. The rat demon especially targets learned scholars like your husband. Their knowledge and life force are said to be sweeter and more nourishing to the creature. But why does it target specifically scholars? Why not others? Lady Jiong asked, trying to understand the demon's pattern and nature. The old monk answered gravely, scholars are traveling to take examinations. They are filled with hope and ambition. Such powerful emotions make the demon even stronger when consumed. The demon lures them to that house. It transforms into a beautiful woman to seduce them. And then little by little, slowly and steadily, it drains their life force over time.
Don't be shy.
What do you mean it drains them slowly? Then my husband might still be alive right now. Hope sparked in her voice despite the horror. The old monk nodded slowly. Yes, the demon keeps its prey alive for a long time, like preserving food stores. There may still be time to save him before it's too late. Then I will go there and rescue him right now. Immediately, this very moment. Lady Zhong jumped to her feet with fierce determination, replacing all fear. But the old monk shook his head firmly. No, you must not. If you go unprepared like that, you will also be captured by the demon and lost. The rat demon is extremely powerful. An ordinary person cannot possibly defeat it alone. A special method is required to have any chance of success. Then what must I do? Please tell me the method, master. I beg you. Lady Zhong pleaded desperately, willing to do anything to save her husband. The old monk fell into deep thought for a long moment. Then he slowly opened his mouth to speak. There is one method that might work. No matter how powerful a demon the rat has become, a rat is still fundamentally a rat. What do you think rats fear most in this world? Lady Zhong thought for a moment. Then realization struck her suddenly. Cat. A cat! Rats fear cats above all else. Exactly right! The old monk smiled with approval. To defeat the rat demon, you will need the power of a cat to fight against it. But an ordinary cat will not suffice for this task. That demon is far too powerful. A special cat with supernatural abilities is required. The old monk gestured toward the back room. I have a cat that has been with me for many years. It is a sacred creature that has lived for 100 years and gained spiritual powers. A cat that has lived 100 years. Such a creature truly exists? Lady Zhong asked in amazement and wonder at this revelation. Indeed, that cat is no ordinary feline. It possesses the power to defeat demons and evil spirits, cultivated through a century of spiritual practice. The old monk stood and walked toward the back room. Lady Zhong followed him closely. Her heart pounded with anticipation and nervousness about what she would see. The room door opened slowly, and there inside, a pure white cat sat there majestically. The cat's eyes glowed with brilliant blue light, and a mysterious aura emanated from its entire body like visible spiritual energy. This cat's name is Bexiel, White Snow. The old monk spoke gently with affection and reverence. For 100 years, it has practiced spiritual cultivation together with me as my faithful companion. Bexel looked directly at Lady Zhong with penetrating awareness. Those brilliant blue eyes seemed to see through everything about her, understanding her heart and her desperate mission completely. Lady Zhong knelt down on the floor with reverence, and she bowed deeply in the traditional manner of utmost respect. Honored Bexil, please help me, I beg you. Please help me save my husband from the demon. Bexil slowly approached with graceful, deliberate movement and sat down directly before Lady Zhong with dignity, as if the sacred cat understood completely her desperate, earnest plea and the depth of her love. Bexil will help you in your quest. The old monk spoke with certainty and gravity. But there is one more thing that is absolutely necessary for the plan to succeed. I will do anything required. Lady Zhong answered immediately without hesitation. Her voice was firm and resolute, showing absolute determination and willingness to sacrifice. You must feed your fingernails to Bexale completely. At the monk's words, Lady Zhong looked down at her own hands, seeing them as if for the first time. My fingernails? Lady Zhong asked with confusion, evident in her voice, not understanding the connection. What does that mean exactly? I don't understand the purpose. The old monk explained the magical principle carefully. Just as the rat demon ate nail clippings and gained the power to transform into a human, Bexale can eat your nails and transform into you perfectly, becoming your exact duplicate. Pexol will transform into me. Lady Zhong's eyes widened with sudden complete comprehension. Only now did she fully grasp the monk's entire clever plan and strategy. Precisely correct. When the rat demon sees two identical versions of you, it will become confused and disoriented, its power weakening. That moment of confusion is when you must strike decisively and save your husband. But Lady Zhong stared at her fingers with growing apprehension. To cut off my nails completely. It will be extremely painful, won't it? The old monk nodded gravely, not hiding the truth. Yes, indeed. Cutting the nails down to the very roots will involve tremendous pain and suffering. However, if it's to save my husband from that demon, Lady Zhong clenched her fist tightly with fierce determination. I can endure this level of pain and much more. My love is stronger than any pain. The old monk was deeply moved seeing her determination and sacrifice. Admirable and noble. This is true love indeed. The kind that conquers all obstacles. Such love is what defeats evil in this world. Now then, let us prepare for the ritual. The old monk brought over a small wooden box with ceremonial care. Inside, it lay a sharp blade gleaming in the candlelight. The blade was small, but appeared extremely sharp and well maintained. It reflected the candlelight coldly, gleaming with dangerous beauty and purpose. With this blade, cut off your nails one by one from each finger, and then feed each one to Baixiel so the sacred cat can consume them and gain the transformation power. Lady Zhong accepted the blade with both hands respectfully. The metal was cold against her skin, sending chills through her, but her hands did not tremble at all. Remaining perfectly steady with resolve, she took a deep breath, steeling herself for the pain to come. And then she placed the blade against her first fingernail, preparing for the sacrifice. Ah! Sharp, searing pain spread from her fingertip through her entire hand, but Lady Zhong gritted her teeth hard and endured it, refusing to cry out or stop. Blood flowed from her fingertip, dripping slowly to the floor. But she did not stop or hesitate. 1 nail, 2 nails, 3 nails. She continued the painful process. One by one, with each nail she cut, the pain intensified and grew worse. But she continued without stopping, driven by love and desperation to save her husband. Finally, all 10 fingernails lay on the floor, the sacrifice complete. Blood dripped steadily from all her fingertips, pooling on the wooden floor beneath. Lady Jong's body trembled with the overwhelming pain and shock, but her eyes remained steady and unwavering, filled with determination and purpose despite the agony. Bexel slowly approached with graceful, deliberate movement, and the sacred cat took one of the fallen nails into its mouth, beginning the magical ritual. And then Bexel began eating them, consuming the nails one by one, slowly, deliberately, with sacred purpose. Miraculously, each time Bexel consumed a nail, light emanated from its body, growing brighter. Faint but beautiful, it was a sacred divine light showing the magic taking effect. When all the nails had been consumed completely, Bexiel's entire body was glowing brilliantly with accumulated magical power, shining like a small star. And then the light faded away gradually. Bexiel appeared like an ordinary cat again on the surface. But those eyes, they had changed, now holding something new and powerful. Bexiel looked up at Lady Jong with changed eyes, and those eyes seemed identical to Lady Jong's own eyes, reflecting her essence and soul. "It is done now," the old monk spoke with satisfaction and gravity. Baixo has gained the power to transform into you perfectly, becoming your exact duplicate whenever needed. The old monk gently wrapped Lady Jong's wounded hands with clean cloth bandages. "You have suffered greatly. This is true courage and sacrifice born of love. The preparation is complete now." Lady Jong spoke with renewed determination despite her pain. "When should I go to that demon's house to rescue my husband?" "Tomorrow at dawn," the old monk answered with certainty. "That time will be most auspicious for success. And take this with you for the final moment." The old monk handed her a small pouch with ceremonial care. "This contains an exorcism charm of great power. At the final critical moment, burn this to reveal the demon's true form." "What will happen when I burn the charm?" Lady Jong asked, wanting to understand fully the power she now held. "The rat demon's true form will be revealed and exposed. No matter how beautiful a woman it has transformed into, it will not be able to hide its real monstrous nature anymore." Lady Jong carefully placed the pouch inside her clothing, close to her heart. "Thank you, Master. I will absolutely save my husband and return him safely, no matter what dangers await. Tomorrow at dawn, go to that house together with Bexiel." And the old monk spoke with utmost seriousness and conviction. "Do not lose your courage in the face of evil. Love will triumph over darkness and evil." The next morning at dawn, before the sun rose, Lady Jong was climbing the mountain path together with Bexiel, her sacred companion on this dangerous mission. Her hands still throbbed with pain from yesterday's sacrifice, but when she thought of her husband trapped by the demon, such pain meant nothing at all to her loving heart. Bexiel walked quietly beside her with graceful, steady steps. Those brilliant blue eyes gazed clearly ahead, focused on their destination with supernatural awareness. "There, I can see it now," Lady Jong murmured to herself, with mix of dread and determination. Beyond the mountain, the roof of the large tiled house came into view. Just as the old monk had said, that house was strangely silent and still. Around it, not a single sound could be heard. No birds, no wind, nothing at all. Lady Jong touched the exorcism charm inside her clothing, feeling its reassuring presence. Then she took a deep breath, steeling herself. This is where it begins. They approached the house cautiously, with careful measured steps. The house was larger than expected, impressive in size. It looked like a wealthy family's estate. which made its isolation more suspicious. Strangely, the house was far too clean and immaculately maintained, as if someone had been carefully tending it with devoted attention until just moments ago, which was impossible for an isolated house. When they stood before the main gate, Lady Jong paused for a moment of connection. She looked down at Baekseol, making eye contact with her magical companion. "Are you ready, Baekseol?" Lady Jeong whispered softly to her companion. Baekseol mowed quietly in response, a sound of agreement and courage. Meow. Lady Jeong knocked on the gate firmly. "Knock, knock, knock." That sound broke the oppressive silence hanging in the air like a physical presence. After a brief moment, footsteps could be heard from inside approaching the gate. Someone was coming, moving with deliberate steps toward them. And then the gate slowly opened with an ominous creak. Creak. Standing there was a young and beautiful woman stood there in the doorway. Wearing white mourning clothes, she looked at Lady Jong with an expression soaked in sorrow and grief. "Who are you?" The woman's voice was soft and gentle, almost melodious. But Lady Jong sensed something was wrong, something unnatural beneath the surface. Baekseol's fur stood up slightly along its back, bristling with warning. That was a clear signal of danger, the sacred cat sensing the demon's presence. "I apologize for the intrusion. I am a traveler passing through these mountains. Might I trouble you for just a drink of water to refresh myself?" The woman studied Lady Jong carefully for a moment, with penetrating gaze. Then she saw Baekseol. Instantly, her face stiffened noticeably, a flash of something dark crossing her features. "Ah, you have a cat with you, I see." The woman's voice changed subtly, taking on a slightly different tone, more guarded and tense. "I'm actually quite afraid of cats, you see. Would it be possible for you to tie it outside while you visit? I would be more comfortable that way." Lady Jong smiled inwardly with satisfaction. "Just as I thought. This is definitely the rat demon. She fears the cat, revealing her true nature despite the beautiful disguise." "Ah, yes, of course I understand." Lady Jong pretended to tie Baekseol to one side of the courtyard, acting compliant while actually preparing the cat for action. But in truth, Baekseol could move freely whenever needed. Lady Jong had deliberately tied the rope loosely, creating only the illusion of restraint. "Please come inside then." The woman opened the door wide in welcoming gesture. Her smile was beautiful and perfect, but somehow cold and lifeless beneath the surface. Lady Jong stepped inside the house, crossing the threshold, and immediately she felt a chilling sensation run down her spine, sensing the wrongness of this place. Inside, the house was strangely dark and dim. Despite it being broad daylight outside, sunlight seemed unable to penetrate properly, as if the darkness itself was unnatural. And everywhere there was a strange smell permeating the air. The smell of a rotting grain. No, it was the unmistakable musky smell of rats filling the house. Lady Jong quickly surveyed her surroundings with sharp, observant eyes. She could see the door leading to the inner room where her husband might be held. "I'll bring you some water to drink. Please wait here just a moment." The woman walked toward the inner rooms, turning her back momentarily. Lady Jong quickly glanced toward the inner room while the demon was distracted. Then, through a crack in the door, she saw something that made her heart leap. There, her husband was there. Kim sat vacant and empty, like a person whose soul had been drained away, staring at nothing. His face was deathly pale and gaunt, and his eyes held no focus or awareness. Like a puppet or doll, he sat without any movement at all, completely lifeless. "My husband!" Lady Jong almost cried out in shock and joy at finding him. But she barely managed to suppress the cry, biting her lip to stay quiet. "Not yet. I must follow the plan." She forced herself to calm down, stealing her heart despite the overwhelming emotion of seeing her husband's condition. At that moment, the woman reappeared from the inner rooms. In her hands, she carried a cup of water as promised. "Here is your water. Please drink." The woman's smile deepened and widened unnaturally, but those eyes remained cold as ice, lifeless and predatory. Lady Jung accepted the cup politely, but she did not drink it, sensing danger. This water, something is wrong with it. It might be drugged or poisoned. Excuse me, is there perhaps someone else living in this house with you?" Lady Jung asked casually, fishing for information about her husband. The woman's face stiffened momentarily at the question. "No, I live completely alone here. My husband died some time ago, but just now, in that room over there, I thought I saw." Lady Jung pointed toward the inner room deliberately, testing the demon's reaction. The woman's expression changed dramatically and instantly. For a moment, rage flashed across her face, breaking the beautiful mask. "What exactly do you think you're doing? Give me back my husband!" Lady Jung shouted, dropping all pretense. There was no more need to hide her true purpose or identity. The woman stood frozen for a moment in surprise, and then, suddenly she began laughing, a chilling, inhuman sound. Ke. So you figured it out. You are clever indeed. I'll give you that. But you're far too late to save him now. The woman's body began to twist and contort unnaturally. Her beautiful face started changing bit by bit, the human disguise beginning to melt away. "Your husband, he's already mine now, my precious prey." His life force was truly delicious and sweet. Every night, I've been draining it little by little, savoring each drop. Lady Jung's entire body trembled with righteous rage and fury. "You evil demon. Release my husband immediately, or face the consequences." "Release him?" The woman laughed mockingly, with cruel amusement. "How do you possibly think you can defeat me, a mere mortal woman against my power?" Her fingernails began growing longer and longer, extending unnaturally. They were transforming into sharp rat claws, the demon's true weapons revealed. "I have collected nail clippings from over 100 people over the years. I can become anyone I choose, and I possess the strength of 1,000 men combined." Lady Jung took one step back defensively, but she smiled with confidence, knowing something the demon did not. The strength of 1,000, but even so, a rat is still just a rat at its core, isn't it? "What did you say?" The woman shouted in outrage and fury. "How dare you mock me, insignificant mortal?" The rat demon lunged at Lady Jung with murderous intent, swinging those sharp claws viciously, aiming to kill. But Lady Jung quickly dodged the attack with agility, and she shouted with all her might, "Pexol!" At that very moment, a white flash burst in from outside, like lightning. It was Baekseal, the sacred cat, coming to aid. Baekseal spun in the air gracefully and then, in an instant, transformed into Lady Jung's exact form, the magic complete. What is this?" The rat demon was completely flustered and confused. Now there were two identical Lady Jung standing before her. Impossible! A person cannot become two. This is some trick. The rat demon screamed in denial and confusion, unable to comprehend. But the cat transformed into Lady Jung was perfectly identical to the real one. Voice, manner of walking, even facial expressions. Everything was exactly the same. "Your tricks won't work anymore, rat demon!" the real Lady Jung shouted with fierce determination and confidence. I fed my fingernails to 100-year-old sacred cat. Now, the cat can transform into me perfectly, just as you transform using stolen nails. The rat demon's face turned deathly pale with primal terror. Tcha! Cat, you said a cat! A cat has my power! She instinctively stepped backward, unable to control her fear. No matter how powerful a demon she had become, a rat still feared cats with ancient biological terror. No, this can't be happening! The rat demon screamed in panic and denial, her confidence completely shattered. The cat transformed Lady Jong lunged at the rat demon with predatory grace. Those eyes glowed brilliant blue, with supernatural power and hunting instinct. Ha! The rat demon shrieked in terror and began fleeing desperately. All thought of fighting abandoned. But she couldn't match a cat's speed no matter how hard she ran. Baexol caught up to her in an instant with supernatural swiftness. Baexol grabbed the rat demon's arm with iron grip. That hold was as hard as steel. The sacred cat's supernatural strength revealed. The room instantly became a chaotic battlefield of destruction. Furniture toppled over and dishes shattered in the violent struggle between them. Let go! Release me! The rat demon struggled violently and desperately, but Bexel did not release her grip. Holding firm with cat determination, the real Lady Jong drew out the exorcism charm from inside her clothing. This must end now. Time to reveal your true form. She set the charm on fire with the candle flame. As she held it to the candlelight, red flames began blazing up with supernatural intensity. The red flames grew larger and larger, intensifying rapidly. That brilliant light illuminated the entire room with purifying radiance. Squeak! The rat demon shrieked with an inhuman sound. The charm's exorcism power began affecting her, forcing the transformation. Smoke began rising from her body in wisps and clouds, as if something within was burning away. The false disguise being destroyed. The human form began peeling away, like a mask being removed. The beautiful woman's face started distorting and warping grotesquely. No, this cannot be! The rat demon resisted desperately with all her remaining power, but it was useless against the charm's magic. The charm's flames intensified even further, blazing with purifying power. In that brilliant light, the rat demon's true form began to be revealed completely. It was a gigantic rat revealed in all its horror. A rat the size of a human with jet-black matted fur stood in the middle of the room in its true monstrous form. From the rat's snout, disgusting drool dripped continuously to the floor. Its red eyes rolled madly with hatred and desperation in their depths. Lady Jong was horrified and shocked to her core. That is the rat demon's true hideous form revealed at last. Baexol also returned to its true cat form. The transformation no longer needed. Its white fur stood on end, and its back arched like a bow in classic cat threat display. No! Baexol yowled threateningly with supernatural power in its voice. At that sound, the giant rat flinched instinctively, with primal fear. The giant rat jumped around in all directions, desperately trying to escape the room. But Baexil would not let it go, blocking every escape route. Squeak! Squee! The giant rat screamed, showing its sharp teeth in desperate threat display, trying to fight back. But Bexiol was not afraid at all of the demon's display. It was a sacred creature that had lived 100 years after all, far beyond mortal cats. The battle between the two beasts began in earnest. The rat tried to bite with its sharp teeth, and the cat tried to scratch with its claws, ancient enemies fighting. The room became covered entirely with fur and blood, from their violent struggle. But Baekseol was gradually gaining the upper hand in the fight. Squeak! Squee! The giant rat's screams grew weaker and weaker, losing power and volume with each cry. Finally, Baekseol bit the giant rat's neck in the classic killing bite. And shook it with all the sacred cat's supernatural strength. Squeak! The giant rat's movements stopped completely, going limp. The light in those red eyes faded and went dark, life leaving. Slowly, that huge body began shrinking and contracting. The demon's magical power was fading away with its death, the spell breaking. Smaller and smaller it became, shrinking down, and finally, it returned to being just one small ordinary rat, all power gone. Baekseol picked up the small rat in its mouth gently and brought it to the real Lady Jong like an offering, like a cat presenting a gift to its owner. Lady Jong received the rat with trembling hands, mixed emotions flooding through her. The small rat was already dead, no longer a threat. It's over, finally over at last. Lady Jong shed tears of relief and overwhelming emotion. The ordeal finished. Thank you, Baekseol. Thank you so very much, my faithful companion. She embraced the white cat tightly with gratitude. Baekseol mowed softly and rubbed its face against her skirt affectionately, as if saying, "You're welcome. It was my pleasure to help." But it was not finished yet. She still had to save her husband from the demon's lingering effects. Lady Jong hurried quickly to the inner room where her husband was held. Baekseol also followed her closely, still protecting her. "My husband! My dear husband!" Lady Jong ran to her husband and knelt before him desperately, calling his name. Kim still sat vacant and unresponsive as before. His eyes remained empty and unfocused, soul still drained. Why won't you wake up?" Lady Jong shook her husband desperately, with growing despair, trying to reach him. It can't end like this. Please." Her voice trembled with emotion, breaking with fear and desperation. Lady Jong wept quietly as she held her husband's hands tightly. Those hands were cold as ice, drained of the warmth of life by the demon's feeding. Why won't you open your eyes? The rat demon is already dead and gone. You're safe now, my dear husband. Please come back to me." But Kim showed absolutely no response to her calls. Like a person whose soul had been completely stolen away, he simply sat there hollow and empty. "What do I do? I've killed the rat demon. So why is he still like this?" Lady Jong's tears poured out uncontrollably in despair. At that moment, Baekseol slowly and deliberately approached Kim. Lady Jong watched without understanding what the sacred cat was doing, wiping her tears. Baekseol stopped before Kim and paused for a meaningful moment, then slowly and carefully placed its head against his chest, right over his heart. At that moment, something miraculous began to happen. A faint but growing light began emanating from Baekseol's body, filling the room with warmth. "What is that?" Lady Jong's eyes widened with sudden astonishment and rising hope. Something was definitely happening before her eyes. The light grew brighter and brighter, intensifying steadily. That light, as if it were a living, breathing thing, began slowly seeping into Kim's body, entering through his chest. That light was her husband's life force that had been stolen by the rat demon. Baekseol was restoring it to him, the sacred cat returning what was taken. Lady Jong covered her mouth with her hands in disbelief and overwhelming emotion. She could barely believe what she was witnessing. Baekseol id, returning my husband's life force to him. Slowly, very slowly, color began returning to Kim's face. The pale cheeks that had been white as paper began warming gradually to living flesh tones. Kim's hands began warming gradually beneath her grip. Lady Jong felt that change and held them even more tightly, afraid to lose the feeling. Kim let out a low, faint groan. Lady Jong felt her breath stop completely in her throat at that sound. My husband, please come back to your senses. Lady Jong cried out with desperate joy and urgent hope. Baksol's light flashed with one final intense burst of power, and then, slowly it faded and dimmed. The healing work complete. Baksol sat down quietly, appearing slightly spent from the effort of healing. But those eyes still glowed softly with gentle, warm light. Then, Kim's eyes began slowly opening. At first, just the thinnest sliver of light, and then gradually more and more. Dear? Kim spoke in a thin, trembling voice, barely above a whisper. That voice was shaking and weak, but it was unmistakably alive and real. The moment Lady Jong heard her husband's voice, tears poured down her face like a waterfall, unstoppable and overwhelming. My husband is alive. He's alive and back. She spoke with trembling voice, breaking with joy and immense relief. Kim's eyes opened completely and fully at last, and finally, he recognized his beloved wife before him. Dear, how are you here? Kim's voice still trembled with weakness, but his eyes were alive with recognition and confusion and love. My husband! Lady Jong embraced her husband tightly with all her strength. Her entire body trembled with uncontrollable joy and profound relief. Baksol mowed softly beside them both, as if saying quietly, It is done now. All is well. My work here is complete. Dear, is it really you? This isn't a dream, is it? Kim spoke, as if he still couldn't quite believe what was happening before him. This is not a dream, my husband. I came to find you myself. I traveled all this way to rescue you from the demon. Kim shed tears of shame and gratitude. I'm so sorry. I was deceived by that woman's disguise. I caused you such suffering and danger. No, don't apologize. What matters is that you're alive and safe now. Let's go home together at last. Kim was still physically weak from his ordeal. Lady Jong supported him as he stood carefully. Baksol also followed them closely, still watching over them. They left that cursed tiled house behind them forever. Outside it was bright morning sunlight. Warm golden rays welcomed them into freedom and safety. The sunlight, was it always this warm and beautiful? Kim murmured as the sun touched his face. How long had he been trapped in darkness suffering? They slowly descended the mountain path together, taking their time. Kim was still weak, but step by step he moved toward home and recovery. Along the way, they stopped at the old monk's hermitage. They needed to express their gratitude for his wisdom and help. Master, we are truly grateful beyond words. Without you and Baxiol, I would have lost everything. Lady Jong bowed deeply in traditional respect. The old monk smiled warmly and nodded his head with satisfaction. It was your courage and love that saved your husband. Baksol and I merely assisted your devotion. Baksol will continue to watch over and protect you both from now on. The sacred cat has become a member of your family now. Baksol mowed softly and rubbed against Lady Jong's leg affectionately. Now they had truly become a family, bound by shared ordeal and love. Kim and his wife returned to their hometown together with Baxiol. The road was long, but being together made it feel short and filled with joy. The village people welcomed them warmly with great celebration. Everyone rejoiced that Kim had returned safely from his long disappearance. After that, Kim regained his health steadily. With Lady Jong's devoted care and Baxiol's protective presence nearby, he recovered quickly and completely. 1 year later, Kim went to take the civil examination again. This time, Lady Jong and Baekseol accompanied him on the journey for protection, and Kim passed the examination with honors triumphantly. His name was posted high on the list of successful candidates for all to see. "We did it, my dear. We accomplished it together," Kim shouted with overwhelming joy and gratitude, embracing his wife. Lady Jong also cried tears of joy while laughing. All the suffering and hardship had been worth it for this triumphant moment. Kim became an excellent government official, an upright servant of the people. He loved the common people and worked with honesty and dedication. Lady Jong and Kim lived happily together in peace and prosperity. Their home was always filled with the sound of laughter and joy. And Baekseol became the guardian deity protecting their home, staying with them for all their lives. Every night the sacred cat patrolled the house, driving away evil spirits and bad energy. From then on, the village people never carelessly discarded their nail clippings. They always burned them in fire or buried them deep in the earth as tradition demanded. Because another rat might eat the nails and transform into a human demon again. But now they had Baekseol protecting them, so the village was safe from evil. And so they all lived happily ever after for many long years.